future teams, I think there's a lot of learning opportunities. And for some of them, it's the first time up here, first time up in NPL, and they're going to have a lot to take back as we continue through this phase and, through this weekend. As we are now in the air on Miramar for our second game of the day. Looks like a relatively easy playing path, Matt.
One thing to note as we're watching these teams, whenever we're going through scrims and everything, that kind of defines different drop locations. The prime locations tend to go to the teams that are a lot more bloody and willing to fight very early. The teams that are still just trying to work on some of those synergies, trying to get it back together, teams that can end up in the lower parts of the leaderboard end up in worse positions. And that makes their job so much harder because now they're having to be in these subprime positions and try to figure out how to handle these circles. And I kind of enjoy watching these teams and how they handle them.
Looking at Low-Key and Zenith on the way to their drop spots. Walt Jr., we've seen him a lot, but it hasn't always been in the greatest of situations. Obviously, he's come off of Noble. Lobes, obviously, his transition through NPL, he's definitely got himself a lot of jerseys at this stage, but still looking for that successful team that he can kind of gel with. And for Low-Key, we've seen flashes from them, but it is seeming like more of a strategy macro thing for this team that does have a lot of talent.
There was a lot of expectations for Low-Key coming up from contenders. I mean, Sonics has been a great performer so far, and these guys were back and forth on a regular basis. Circle is going to go back pretty centered, just a little bit towards the east. So no crazy rotation is going to have to come out unless you're like Riot Squad or Endemic. But, I mean, look, we can see Vanquish up towards the north in that Campo Militar area, Terra Branca. That lets you know, that gives you an idea on how much struggle can happen. If there's a southern circle that pops, Vanquish is just going to have to haul and try to figure out how to deal with everybody already being in set locations.
And speaking of set locations, I was wanting to mention that when we set up the NPL, we're coming into a new phase. These teams kind of scrim and fight to determine who is going to be where. Now, for the military base and for Vanquish, that is not the best spot. It's decent for loot, and you can run around there, and it takes a long time to loot in military base. And then you have to come south, depending on where the circle is. You might have those long rotations. So this particular circle will give them a path into the zone, but the center density, as you can see, already so thick. As Ghost, the circle is on their loot area. Space Station Gaming's in the mix. Low-Key is there, and for, of course, Player One Esports.
Another big note is whenever you're playing kind of these more edge positions, you don't have the same opportunities to catch people inside of rotations already in a firm spot. So it's potential kills that are missed out. I say that, but there's going to be a little bit of a translation that's going over here as it's going to be Space Station Gaming, having a couple of shots come out from Lobes. Kind of a wing and a prayer on that one, but it is the bus, and everybody knows that my super fan of the bus.
You can see looking at the total damage, Vanquish, they've been struggling really, and the bottom four teams that we're looking at, Zenith and Low-Key included, where they just kind of struggle to put themselves in a position to do damage. And for Vanquish, unfortunately, find themselves way down that leaderboard, where they just don't find themselves in those prime positions. And probably because they spend a lot of their time in these areas on the edge of the circle. And as you said, Matt, unable to catch teams in rotation.
Through the history of the players for Vanquish, though, we have seen some standout performances, but it just hasn't gelled yet for this team. I mean, it almost feels like they're playing a little bit more of one of the older play styles of PUBG, whenever it was a little bit more passive at the beginning, go for placement points, but the rotation points are where they're finding these trouble points. Like we had the desk talking about it. Macro tends to be the big problem for these teams, but it's also an issue that you have to deal with trying to scrap up and find those other points. Just find any kills you can if you can't get into the positions you want to be at.
I look at Tetra on Vanquish as well as a player who definitely seems that he has the ability to get frags. He does carry a lot of the fragging load for Vanquish, but doesn't seem to have any upward mobility. I would expect after his performance last phase and now what he's shown this phase that he could maybe be like a Shrew type player, where maybe a little bit more formation, a little bit more time, and maybe a higher caliber team would allow him to shine a little bit brighter.
And that's a big deal for a lot of these teams that are towards the bottom. And they have performers, but whenever you're constantly in that defensive position where you're the last guy left and you can't take the shots that you want to get, makes it very hard to get those kills and that damage that we see through there. Genesis, naturally, these guys are always in the middle of the circle. They fight for it every single time, and they get a little bit of easier rotations. These guys on the outer edge, moving early, trying to figure out where they want to go. Low-Key's already on that move. They do have a little bit more of an inside track than some of the other teams, but they have to figure out, okay, where do we want to go? Where do we want to try to find these points at? I'm curious if they're going to go to an aggressive position, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a passive position come into play for them.
Yeah, Low-Key has definitely done a good job, rather, at least in this early game, to find themselves relatively center position. Looking in with Space Station Gaming, no losses there just yet. But for Space Station, they just got to stay strong. Miramar does seem to be a map for them where they can shine. Their map control has been at least decent on Miramar. And for Genesis, I was standing over between games. I think K-Mine is not unhappy overall, but I think he was pretty choked that he got killed in the way he did last game. But this is a team that's trying to stay positive. They are in 8th place now, and they are within striking distance of the top 5. They just need to string together those 3 good games that we know they can do.
I feel kind of bad for Genesis. They are performing quite well. They're having a lot of standout moments, great plays coming out of them. It's just they had such an explosive week 1. Everybody was just expecting it to be their phase.
Yeah,
they were expecting it to be their phase. And then it slowly just unraveled that little bit. And that leads into, I guess, a little bit of a morale problem that can occur at that point.
Well, there's a lot of pressure. You know, K-Mind obviously has the largest audience personally of anyone on the NPL stage. And with that audience comes the pressure, the questions. It would have been extremely difficult for him yesterday to start the stream up after the day they had with the team kills and things not going their way. Obviously, we talk about it as well. People listen to what we say and then they puppet it back to them. And that, you know, spreads to the team, and that can really affect a squad. So for them, they just need to realize they're some of the best in the world. They need to play like it.
I mean, it's just a matter of when it's going to come together. I had faith at this point. Zenith, a little bit later in those rotations, looking around, trying to figure out where they want to go. They're pretty close to the center, and they have managed to find a path that's going to give them a little bit of cover. Lazarus doesn't have clean sight lines over towards them, nor do Ghost. But the more and more they encroach back over towards Graveyard does become a little bit more of a problem because those hills open up more, and those people playing hills will get sight lines back down towards them.
Speaking of a good Miramar team, I kind of like the way Lazarus plays this as well. Good at using the terrain, good at finding those angles, and they are good at the team fights here as well. They've split themselves into a short 2-2 split in the center of the zone, Luke looking down towards I believe that's a Vanquish squad member down there. It looks like Fozu, and looking for their first kill here. Last game not going their way.
Fozu's kind of posted up. He seems to be the scout for the team. Does have a control point. Nobody's really towards their north. Lazarus is one of the closer teams towards them, but you can see nothing on the mini-map, so has some breathing room, but is kind of one of the outlier teams inside this. They couldn't push in towards the center, so if the circle doesn't go back up towards the north, they know they're going to be one of the first teams to have to rotate. That's one of the reasons why you see on a regular basis, a lot of these teams have a lot of vehicle movement and not a lot of foot movement if they're one of the lower placed teams.
Looking at the
constantly chasing the circle.
Absolutely. Looking at the total scoreboard, it's kind of interesting to look at Rumblers and Sonics being so close to each other. We have the standout Phase 1 NPLC squad, and now the Phase 2 standout NPLC squad, only within 2 points of each other in the dead center of the leaderboard. And
well, you say that, but Riot Squad is my go-to like Phase 2 team that's kind of make their way up here. These guys are performing on it. Sonics was the expected one, I would say.
It was more just the contrast of how the standout team from NPL Phase have stepped up. Speaking of which, Kickstart, he's going to find Tetra in the open, the quick flush there, and Vanquish will lose the first player of this game.
And so now you see the struggles of being one of those teams that's having to loot towards the outside of it. Wolf finding himself in his own struggle, down to 1 hit point, but I think he's managed to find an angle to get away from those evil people who are taking the shots at him, as Ghost just has a firing line across Minas Generalis right now.
Making sure Wolf is checked in with here, making sure that Endemic is doing all the things they're supposed to be doing, and Wolf is going to be in the shack, and that's what he's up to.
The rest of the team is kind of separated out and back behind him. Looks like he kind of scouted forward to try to go for a center position. The rest of the team still playing around Graveyard. Tempo Storm on foot, on hunt, and look who they might be pushing up next to. It's going to be the low-key members who already managed to get their control point back down towards that center spot, but it's facing over where Tempo Storm likes to rotate.
And this is a good ridgeline for Tempo to use. They can get all the way around this compound. They're going to be checking in to try and take it. Low-key on the other side. They're not in the brick building that Tempo is scouting. And this is a bit of a misstep from Low-key. They're not watching this reverse flank. They wouldn't expect Tempo to be coming from this area, but Tempo loves those sweeping rotates, especially from the south, coming north. And Low-key has all their eyes pointed one direction. They have no idea who's standing behind them.
We're starting to see that be more common with these top teams, the ones that are just racking up all these kills. They abandon vehicles a little bit early, separate out, move a couple of 100 meters out, just start hunting down whatever kills they can get, then retreat back to the vehicles and use them in rotation if necessary. or just stay on foot and continue to hunt kills depending on how the circle goes. Maluk, Sharky using the ridgeline, just kind of creeping back down next towards where low-key is at. Endemic, Space Station Gaming, caught up into a little bit of a skirmish. You can see Crispier is going to just roll down dead across the hillside, and Rez is going to come out from Valier.
Endemic really spread out. Wolf was stuck in a shack. That's going to leave something up by himself. Rello down, Crispier dead, and that means he's going to have to contend with Space Station. He's got no cover to work with, standing wide in the open. Something having to take this right towards Space Station Gaming. Valier, however, is taking damage from, I believe, United in the back, and now he's going to get a little bit of support. I think Wolf has come up and now stepped up. The nades fly over.
Smoke lines are down. Baja's going for the peaks on it, very aware that something has to be making some type of push towards them. The grenades are starting to explode a little bit too close. Third party is just decimating Endemic on the back line of this. They do manage to find one little point of reprieve, trying to get the res back over towards Relo. Wolf just can't get involved inside this fight, so that's kind of left something on his own. Very far forward position. Shots are now going to come out, and look at Space Station Gaming. They're just trying to get the shots out, but they can't connect either.
Wolf steps up to something. They're going to try and figure out how they can get across this ridgeline. It's going to be a tough peak. Smoke still down, trying to nade over. That one will bounce close. That's going to blind Baja, I believe, as now it's going to be a nice spray coming up from Valiant in the backline. Baja steps up. Wolf can't get it to go. Wolf gets down. Something comes up for the trade, and now he's going to step over for the flush, and that's going to be one kill going to Endemic as Wolf gets flushed out from Vegas. That's a kill steal, 1 point going to Ghost.
And it just looks like a retreat coming up from something, but Hetror is not going to let it happen. Down to 2 hit points now. You can see something just clinging back down to the cover piece that he's got. Hetror is just trying to find any angle, but there's so many shots coming across these hillsides. Finally, it's going to be a connection coming up from Valiate as something is down by himself, trying to figure out what is he going to do. Riot Squad's taking shots off to one side. There's Ghost back towards the north of it. Really, Endemic has nowhere they can go, but Valiate doesn't see something. Shots are going to come through, and Valiate realizes, okay, this is a little bit too risky. Where did that come from?
He's going to want a med, but he's going to go for the re-peek. Here comes the push from something. He's going to take down Flush Valiate, and that's going to be another kill going to Endemic now. Only one player left standing as they pick up 2 points, but it's looking like it's going to be an early exit for Endemic once again.
Vanquish on the run right now, moving out in position as Tempo Storm was trying to do that sweeping move towards them, but Vanquish looks like they're a little bit ahead of it. They're really, this part of the circle is pretty open. Everybody's fighting back over towards La Bendita. The southern and the eastern parts of the circle pretty wide out in the open, so Vanquish should have an easy rotate through. Tempo Storm not going to be able to find those kill points that they're so desperately wanting from rotating in a fashion like this, but they don't know that, and they're going to continue their hunt.
Didn't actually get into it with low key, and that was the question I had with Tempo, as they didn't seem to think that the compound was empty, but they didn't really want to commit to checking it either, so they did back away. Tempo does kind of retreat back towards the edge of the circle, and we're going to see another circle shift. As I imagine, Matt, we're probably going to go, yes, actually, that's a nice call from Tempo. They're still going to be around low key, but they're going to have the zone here.
One thing to note about this circle, the road that's going through the middle of it, there's so much flat lands inside of it, and a lot of these teams are not going to want to make any plays around that. It's kind of a death trap. With that being said, Vanquish is kind of separating out across from it, trying to get that complex that's due up in the center, try to go for the safety play in case something bad happens. These teams back over towards the west have to figure out how they're going to handle it. There's so many small skirmishes already happening that's going to kind of slow down some of these rotations.
Look at the pressure on the western side as well. So many teams coming through Bendita, which is an awkward place to travel. Zenith's dismounting. They are going to see something. I think they did spot him on his little feetsies as he's trying to run away. He can hear the vehicles in behind him, and it's going to be Patron spotting him. So something's got to literally run for his life as all of Zenith comes down the hill, but not before they get met with fire. I believe that's coming from long distance. I don't even know who's shooting those shots. Might have been potentially, that's not Ghost Gaming, but I did see some white text there.
Nice knowledge of the train from something, constantly managing to keep some type of cover that's back behind him, buying a little bit more space, but now something's playing in this lower area, just trying to be patient with it, seeing if anybody's going to push back up onto it. But Zenith looks like they are on the hunt, and they want this one. Riot Squad's kind of posted up in La Bendita itself. They can hear the vehicles kind of rotating through that location, but that doesn't seem to be slowing down Zenith too much. They really want to kill him at this point.
Well, it's a very pivotal, I mean, any point you can get, especially in this early stage of the game, is going to be a bonus for Zenith, who needs all the points they can get, but something and Endemic will be finishing the rest of their time, at least for now, in this shack.
A little bit of a skirmish that's going on between Envy and E United. A couple of shots come out from Taylor J and do take down Pat Caps. So now, nice hold coming out from E United. They're just looking up that ridge that you can see Envy was trying to push on towards. Balefrost in a nice position. He's going to have to see if he can get anything out of this angle, but a nice Molotov coming out from Terrell. It's going to make his life much more difficult.
That's going to force him into the corner of the building. He can't really peek out the door. He's open for himself, and that's going to leave it kind of difficult to defend, but Taylor J, second story. This is a hard push for Envy to come up this ridge line, but it's not a lot of vision for Taylor either, so he's got to decide, do I want to fight from here or push out and try and get some kills?
Note Moody is way up on a hillside right now and is trying to provide a little bit of cover fire for his boys. Meanwhile, a couple of flanks are coming through. Stab Sharu outside of this building trying to find the angle, so it's a peak battle back and forth on what's happening on the outside as the contained fight is right up next to that building.
Something's feeling kind of surrounded at this stage. He's got Riot Squad on one side, Zenith on the other. So now for Riot Squad, I would like to see them try to initiate here, but I don't think they've spotted anyone from Zenith. There's something still in the shack.
At this point, it's going to be a little bit hazardous. Well, it looks like Walt Jr. is just wanting to go ahead and clear out any buildings around them, but I think anybody's inside that one. Did they misread it and they not know where something is at? A couple of shots now coming out from Riot Squad is going to slow down Zenith. Something might be able to get at. Yeah, he gets a shot back over on that angle, gets a down and a flush. So it was everybody that was chasing after him. He actually does manage to get a kill out of it.
They had a coin flip on which shack was the correct one. They picked the wrong one. It's going to cost him a player. Now Riot Squad hearing the shots. They want to step up. They're interested. And Patron in the prone position. He's hoping for someone to push the ridgeline, maybe get an easy down. But here comes Kendo. He's got the nice defense. Now Roth is going to open up, and Riot Squad comes to a halt as this is going to be a 1-for-1. It's a little bit of a spread here for Zenith, but Ghost is arriving in the back line as well.
Oh, Balefrost is in a world of hurt right now. Taylor J is already down. Envy is just swarming around these buildings. Balefrost is trying to figure out what he's going to do. There is smoke on that second story. It's just a matter of when does the push come? Is Envy going to go for it? Taylor J trying to get rezzed right now. This is very ambitious from Balefrost, but nobody from Envy is going for it. It looks like all they have is smokes to work with right now, so that's going to buy them a little bit more space and time to get the res off.
It's very stressful to push up into those smokes. Envy just pre-firing their corners, trying to make sure they don't get surprised, but they are trying to flush out E United. They're all on the top floor. Taro can't get up the stairwell, and there's no grenades for either team now, so it's going to be all shooting defense.
There's two more members of E United that are off on the hillside. So right now, Envy has no idea how many members are up towards the top of this. That's why they don't want to push it. It's a little bit too risky on these angles. So E United is just being very patient with it. A couple of shots come off the side of it. Balefrost taking damage, but so much stress right now on these guys. They're down towards the bottom, but finally shots are going to come through. Taylor Jade makes an interesting jump onto the other side of this, trying to hold back. Balefrost is down. Taro's trying to go for the peaks on it, but look at that drop shot coming out.
Taylor has jumped up onto the rooftop, and now he's got Pat Caps down and out. He's got Taro finished off, and Moody's just trying to shoot through the railings. He's going to jump up and over, and he will flush Balefrost, and Taylor is down. So now we're missing some from United. Meanwhile, Lazarus, Tempo Storm, and Wildcard getting into it.
Interesting little skirmish here as it looks like Lazarus is in the worst position out of everybody. Unciv way out in the back right now, taking some blue damage. Luke's already down. He's just going to go ahead and get flushed out by Adam. Wildcard pushing along one side of it, Tempo Storm on the other side of this hill. I believe that Uncivil might be the last member up for Lazarus right now.
Wildcard 4 kills, trying to battle across, flashing over. Pistola expecting someone to be there, and the security flashbang does not net any results, as Wildcard has to make their way into the zone, and so there he is. It's Uncivil. He's got a great flank, but he can't unleash. He's just trying to find an opportunity. Civ, the fragger, he wants those kills, and Lazarus wants those points.
Wildcard is just patiently waiting. They know he's back here. You can hear the grenade starting to get prepped on one side of it. Uncivil just has nowhere to go at this point. Is he going to die to blue? Is he going to try to make the hero play? With Lazarus, it's kind of interesting to see how they try to approach each one of these circles.
Nice grenade, but for Wildcard, I think they probably would have wanted to save a few of those. They had him zoned.
A lot of utility.
It was a matter of time, and yes, a lot of utility being used there for Wildcard.
One thing to note, if we get the map for just a second, it's turning into a mess back down towards the southwest of the circle. You can see Player One Esports trying to keep out Rumblers to a little bit of a degree. There's Envy just off to the side of them, as well as Riot Squad. Something still alive, somehow, living in his shack. And K-Mind, I believe, the last member of Genesis along that similar path. So a lot of these players all playing around La Bandita, likely going to have to move out of this location, and it can get really messy with this hill.
Riot Squad has kept all 4 alive, and they have a decent little position here. This Bandita area has been kind of a disaster for a lot of teams. There's a couple of stragglers. Looks like Genesis did lose a lot of players. K-Mind pick up a couple of points earlier, and the circle will shift on to low key, and that's a lot of flat ground, Matt. We were talking about this earlier. Ghost is going to keep their position, and they might be able to pick up some more kill points as everyone comes out of Bandita.
Rumblers look like they're opting just to push back towards Player One Esports. We've seen them do nice plays around this location before. Lampalot's holding this outside position, does get a sight line back over towards Microfry. Preps the grenade off to one side of it. Microfry looks like he's going back on one angle. Got to be very careful with both of those, as now it's just turning into a little bit more of a peak battle. Cherry Poppins, Lampalot loses his cover, so runs back over to the rest of his team, but it looks like Rumblers taking more and more control over the outside of this and starting to be a dominant pressure point back towards Player One Esports.
Player One Esports forced in, no kills yet. Couple of damage points trying to be meted up. Meanwhile, Rumblers trying to either find a way in or find a way past, but they have to get through Player One Esports, and they're going to vault in. K-Mine, meanwhile, is trying to solo Riot Squad.
Riot Squad's been on fire lately, but looks like he's doing what work he can. Gets it down onto one of them. And you can see Waldo goes for a peek onto one side of it. A little bit more of an exchange happening. Player One Esports just walks right up in front of him, but a nice push back around from Aguila does get the down onto one. So two members of Player One Esports up. Do get a sideline back over towards Microfry. He goes down as well. Player One Esports getting more and more control as the last body tumbles down off the balcony.
Los tried to vault up and over. No res is coming, and there goes something as he is found. And K-Mine is still harassing Riot Squad. Mystery is down. Lata's taking zone damage. We are into phase 5, and the boosts do come out from K-Mine. He takes a headshot. He's going to try and get one more down. Can't get it. K-Mine and Genesis will go down in 8th place.
But does take down two members of Riot Squad. So now Riot Squad has to make a push back over towards the safe zone, where Ghost is going to be waiting. Now they have to figure out, what do we do? Lata doesn't even have a helmet at this stage and is going to be cresting up to a hilltop that a lot of people are going to be expecting. So any peek over that hill is going to be very detrimental to him. That's why he's playing across this angle, trying to find where's the best place to go with it. But it looks like a couple of skirmishes happening on the outside.
This has been Riot Squad's typical game as they're trying to get through Ghost. They have 8 kills. The vehicle is going to go up, and they're going to get 1 kill. Protege will explode, and Aguila will be finished off for Player One Esports as Fozu finds him. But Riot Squad, again, picks up 8 kills. Lata's trying to make his way into the zone, but they're getting a couple placement points here, Matt.
Lata's just trying to make it down that hillside. So dangerous, but I think he might manage to make it. Nope, it's going to be Drassil picks him off the side as looks back over, and everybody on Ghost is like, hey, what are those other guys shooting at? I'll take that.
And now Finna has his eyes set on Tempo Storm, and they're looking right back at him. These teams have been kind of looking at each other, but now they're being forced together. As Finna has got the smokes down, Tempo Storm is going to get aggressive. They got a couple up on the ridgeline behind in the trees, and the dynamic duo of Zampa and Sharpshot in the foreground.
So Vanquish running a little bit of a separated point right now. Low-key has been kind of quiet because they keep getting center circle and nobody's pushing down to this location. But now it's going to be a little bit more loud for Low-key as everybody's going to have to move down around their location in some fashion.
I think Tempo's going to recall their player. I was going to say they've got a great ridgeline to use. They can kind of rotate north, and they're going to bring Sharpshot back. This is a smart call from Maluk.
Just try to kill people as they have to run back down into those planes. Wildcard running a little bit separated as well. Ghost making their push off in the distance. You can see McCoy slowly making his way towards the zone, and he's just going to opt into playing right on the edge here and use make it his own fortification.
Ghost has been picking up point after point. They've got hard cover, but they have to move. McCoy has found himself a little bit of a foothold, trying to test to see how safe it is, but Low-key is taking a look at him. Tempo Storm, they've condensed. Now they've got to deal with Wildcard. Nice shot there from Penta taking down Luke. Quick res coming.
Wildcard in no rush to move. They do have one person that's kind of in a safety position, but they don't have a lot of cover, and they're not inside the safe zone yet. So curious to see on how they're going to handle that. They might just use that down as a point to allow them to make their rotation over. The rest of Ghost using that same opportunity, but everybody is kind of starting to play around that same spot. Ghost, Wildcard pushing into similar paths, might get sightlines towards each other very soon.
McCoy taking one off the teeth there, but Ghost has a nice little piece of terrain to use, and they could maybe do some damage to a team like Vanquish. They're looking their way now, but they're going to be policed by Low-key, who'll be looking straight across to where McCoy is and looking at that ridgeline. Low-key is the linchpin that's keeping this game together right now, as Ghost is going to have to deal with maybe Wildcard if they want to step over. I don't know where Ghost goes after this.
They have a point that they can play now, but exactly where do they go after this? It's going to be very difficult to make any form of rotation. They need to take down Wildcard. That's off to one side. Vanquish is looking back up the rotations coming up from Tempo Storm, still keeping the eye on the Low-key, but Tempo Storm making use of those hilltops. Nice shots coming out from Pax, going to take down Sharky, so nice peak battle back and forth.
So Tempo's rotated north, and they've got a nice clean line of sight onto Wildcard, and this is the fight they want to focus on. Even though Sharky's down in the smoke, they're going to have to try and get as many kills off of Wildcard as they can. That's going to alleviate the pressure onto Ghost Gaming, but Wildcard now has to make this desperate push out into this open area, and Low-key is going to be licking their lips now.
it's interesting because Ghost is very focused in right now on the Vanquish members back down towards the south. That's allowing Wildcard just to continue to rain damage back over towards everybody that's on Tempo Storm. The Vanquish guys, they do manage to make it inside the circle, but you can see Ghost is looking at them right now, and Low-Key finally opting away from looking at Vanquish, now finally turning their sights towards Tempo Storm.
Tempo's, yeah, getting a lot of pressure. Ghost as well, as it's mostly Vanquish firing at both Tempo Storm and Ghost Gaming. So for both teams, they just kind of have to wait out Vanquish, who's now going to lose their ridge line and be forced essentially all the way north into the open. Unless they get a drastic circle shift, we'll see what happens. Not bad for Vanquish, but Low-Key gets the circle again.
Low-Key at this point have kind of set up a flag. They've started.
They've got doilies on the table.
They've remodeled that house. You know, the property value shooting through the roof. They've been there for a while now.
Who's mowing the lawn in the Low-Key compound?
Do you mow the lawn on Miramar? I don't think that there's enough grass to ever have to do
maybe
it.
some AstroTurf or something like that.
And I think it's like, don't people usually do like rock lawns whenever it's all desert out there?
I don't live in the desert. You tell me.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Well, hey, that's what people tend to do. So Low-Key, they do have the circle, but there's still some terrain pieces that Tempo Storm can play. They have a nice approach path that they can try to use based off that rotation you mentioned earlier. Really, it's Wildcard, and I would say Ghost and Vanquish that have to figure out what do we do at this stage.
Even Tempo, they have to come south. I don't know what that terrain is like cover-wise, but they do have to move a little bit. And I have to wonder now, are there going to be any cover points between them and Low-Key? Pax has been the one monitoring Tempo Storm. I might also add, Low-Key's got 0 kills.
Well, nobody's been around them. Everybody's doing all these skirmishes on the outside. You can see Ghost trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? A couple smokes down. Vegas is the front runner coming out for them, but everybody's now turned their sights back over towards Wildcard, and you can see it's just so many shots coming back their direction. Wildcard just dealing with every single thing that's being thrown at them from across the circle. Adam is just clutching to life on this one divot that he's got that's inside the safe zone, but everybody is just repositioning around for it. Finally, he does go down. Pistola Time gets some shots back over towards McCoy as they're running through. Ghost loses to as they're trying to make this cross, but still no safety to be had anywhere.
Not to mention Ghost kills are being stolen by Tempo and Wildcard. Nice shot from Pistola Time, and the bike will flip, and down he will go. Lobes will get the initial down. Pistola Time wants to steal. Nice target acquisition from Pistola Time, but I think they traded kills.
8 kills right now sitting with Wildcard. Pistola Time, the last member, finally gets a little bit more space to work with, is trying to run back over towards the safe zone. A couple of shots still coming out from Low-Key, but somehow Vanquish's Fozu has managed to make it right up. Everybody from Low-Key is caught up on what's happening to the north and to the west. Nobody's looking back down towards the south.
And Vanquish has made their way, and a nice shot from Pistola again, taking down Shrimsy. Maluk will go down to the zone, and Tempo will follow him. 5th place for Tempo as Reno just peppers the shots into Vegas and Shrimsy smoke, and that's going to be Vegas going down to the zone. Nice attempt there. Good game from Ghost.
A little bit of separation coming, as you can see. Low-Key starting to push up towards the north. We're going to listen into their comms and see what's happening with them.
Okay, 4 up. Wait, it could be a 3v4.
What about Wildcard? Are they all dead?
Not sure. I don't know. Someone kind of peek south.
I'm looking south, like right side.
They might be
roadside.
They might be yellow. Not sure though.
Pax, I think you said
It's
the
not,
prior.
is it 3v4?
It could be 3v4.
I don't know.
You guys have center. You guys have center here. Someone could flex out
I want
to the
to chill
north
and watch the east. I want to chill and watch the east wrap.
Okay.
Boosting.
Just be mindful of west, guys. Be mindful of west. Like the road's barely in, so they don't really have much space to play.
Could there still be a northwest player?
Comms.
There could be a.
They're in the shacks.
Lobes, can you get back to us?
I think I can get an easy pick here.
We need to be in a spot to make something happen.
he's-
off
Go
of this.
northwest. One person on a tree.
Is out of zone 310?
He's prone down.
He's
Hit
prone.
him twice.
He has to move, I think.
Yeah, he
Go
does. He
upstairs
has-
with you. Go upstairs.
I knocked one on our south.
Lobes, just live, okay?
Yeah.
You can nade it.
Pax, hold it right. I'm holding toward tree left.
Yeah. He's on the right side of the tree. Prone on that ridge.
Guys, you have a full
Markers.
squad south, and you're focusing on one player.
Yeah, don't focus that guy.
You focus with Lobes. Go with Lobes.
They're like 2 shanties away.
Well, not full squad. I think it's
Three. It's three.
northwest. He's gonna be
zoomed out
pushed
of
by
blue.
blue right now.
Zoomed out of blue.
I'm looking. Go.
I'm gonna get naded. I'm falling off.
Ruby
Yeah,
3.
run. You
Guys,
got a zone on them.
someone can play
I'm
on
getting
top
on
of
roof.
the
I'm
prio.
getting on
Someone
roof.
can
I'm
play
getting
on top.
I'm getting on top prio.
Okay.
Someone have the left wrap.
Someone's got.
Kind of.
Yeah. Chubb does. Thunder
Boosting
zone is
real
on
quick.
you. Just don't get naded.
They don't know I'm outside.
I'm getting naded right now.
Coming outside blue.
Go into prio if you need to. Molly coming in as well. Pax, I think you try and go for a play here. Try and get a peek.
Okay,
I'm holding the left push. Holding the left push.
One's low as fuck.
One's far. I'm nading him.
He's going far left. Far left.
Going far left. Far left.
He can be at the blue. He can be at the blue.
He can be at the blue 2-story.
I'm going behind prio. I'm going behind prio.
Okay.
I'm peeking left blue.
I am too.
Yeah, I'm peeking nothing. One's in blue.
One's in blue. 1-story. Bottom floor.
Boosting.
Go north, Lopes. Go north. Once you get this knock.
Headshot. I'm healing. I'm kidding. He's headshot on the blue.
Yeah, I'm holding left side. 2 left. 2 on blue.
I gotta go north here.
I'm flashing the blue. I'm flashing the blue.
Where's the dot?
That's
on me. On
northeast.
chub. On chub.
Chub.
Copy.
There's no one's in the shanty. They're nading over.
Playing inside.
Playing cheeky angle up top here.
They go right. Come on, be sneaky right.
Yeah. No.
I don't think they're right. No, I think they're all blue.
No nades. No more nades.
No nades.
Okay.
Still holding me.
They're all in blue 2-story, guys.
They have to move soon.
There might be. Yeah, they're
One could be prone maybe. On us.
like prone outside maybe.
I'm gonna peek right side late, okay?
No, not yet. Not yet. Inside
Yeah,
blue.
no, late.
They're pushing. They're pushing. One's pushing. One's holding. One ran up to you.
Coming to you, Pax. Nice. One knocked. Right below you. Edge of blue. Under stairs.
He's lit on the stairs.
Lit stairs.
One downstairs inside.
Downstairs inside. Right on Lopes. Right on Lopes.
Oh, your last job.
One outside, one downstairs inside. They're gonna come up there. Both of them.
And low key at the very end of the game,